It started like dozens of routine police calls do: a worried message to 911, a suspicious car in a parking lot, and officers sent to simply check things out. Nothing about it suggested the situation would spiral into chaos. But within minutes, a tense conversation inside a parked vehicle began to unravel. Voices grew sharper, suspicion replaced calm, and suddenly every second mattered. One decision, one movement, and the entire encounter exploded into a life-or-death moment. What began as a possible DUI investigation in North Dakota quickly turned into a confrontation that would leave an officer seriously injured and a woman fighting for her life. The question is, how did something so ordinary escalate so fast? When officers first arrived at the parking lot in Bismarck, North Dakota, the situation didn't immediately look like a dangerous one. It was early in the afternoon on March 7, 2025, and police had been dispatched after someone texted 911 reporting a driver who appeared to be acting strangely. The caller believed the woman behind the wheel might be under the influence or experiencing some kind of episode. From the outside, it looked like a routine welfare check, the kind officers respond to countless times every year. 2 officers were sent to the scene. Officer James arrived first, while Officer Anderson responded as backup. By the time Anderson pulled into the lot around 12:12 p.m., James was already speaking with witnesses nearby. Before approaching the woman in the vehicle, Anderson briefly talked with the man who had contacted 911. The man explained that moments earlier, the situation had begun to feel unpredictable. According to him, the woman had suddenly started yelling and acting erratically while sitting in her car. At first, he assumed she might just be having a stressful moment, but then things escalated. He described hearing the car shift into gear and the tires grinding against the gravel. What caught his attention was the direction the wheels were pointed. Instead of backing out normally, it looked like the car was angled toward nearby vehicles and people. That's when he became concerned something dangerous could happen. The man said he quickly moved toward his truck because he was worried the vehicle might ram into it. His goal was simple. If the woman did suddenly accelerate, at least his truck would be between her car and the people nearby. As he got closer, the woman rolled down her window and began shouting loudly. Her words were scattered and frantic. She talked about people owing her money, mentioned her father owning an oil refinery, and continued yelling about various unrelated things. The witness said the entire interaction felt chaotic, and he tried to keep her talking calmly just to slow things down. Adding to the tension was the fact that his young son was sitting nearby in a vehicle. He explained that he didn't know whether stepping away would make things worse. If the woman suddenly reversed, the back of the car could move toward where his child was sitting. Not knowing what else to do, he decided the safest move was to quietly contact police. By the time officers arrived, the witness had already explained much of this to dispatch. After speaking with him, Officer Anderson reassured the man that they would talk with the driver and figure out what was happening. Meanwhile, Officer James had already approached the vehicle and started speaking directly with the woman inside. Body camera footage shows him calmly asking for her name. She identified herself as 53-year-old Melanie Udell. From the start of the conversation, Melanie appeared agitated. When James explained that police had received a call expressing concern about her, she immediately pushed back, insisting there was no reason for anyone to be worried. James tried to keep the tone neutral. He explained that when someone contacts police about a possible safety issue, officers are required to check it out. His goal was simply to understand what was going on. But as the conversation continued, it became clear things weren't going to stay simple. While speaking with Melanie, James noticed something coming from inside the vehicle, a strong odor. According to the officer, the car smelled heavily of marijuana. That immediately raised questions, especially since North Dakota law only allows medical marijuana under specific conditions. James asked her directly when the last time she had smoked marijuana in the vehicle was. Melanie responded in a confusing way. She said other people had smoked marijuana in the car but seemed reluctant to say more. She hinted that talking about it might get her in trouble or cause problems with other people. The officer continued asking calm, straightforward questions. Did she personally smoke marijuana recently? Did she currently have a valid medical marijuana card? Melanie admitted she had once had a medical marijuana card, but said it had expired. At the same time, she insisted the marijuana smell wasn't necessarily connected to her. As the conversation went on, Melanie began talking about several unrelated issues. She mentioned anxiety, a neck injury, and different prescriptions she had been given, including Adderall and gabapentin. Her explanations jumped rapidly from one subject to another, making the conversation harder for the officer to follow. James attempted to bring the discussion back to the main concern, whether she had recently used marijuana or alcohol before sitting in the driver's seat. When he asked about alcohol, her response was vague. She admitted she may have had something to drink, but didn't say when. From the officer's perspective, that combination, the smell of marijuana, possible alcohol consumption, and erratic behavior, raised serious safety concerns. Someone sitting behind the wheel in that condition could pose a danger not only to themselves but to everyone around them. Melanie, however, was becoming increasingly defensive. She insisted the real problem wasn't her, it was other people nearby. At one point, she accused others in the area of selling drugs and claimed they were calling police on her unfairly. James tried to steer the conversation away from those accusations. His focus remained on the situation directly in front of him, a driver in a running vehicle who might be impaired. As the tension slowly built, the officer made a decision that would change everything. He asked Melanie to step out of the car. Inside the vehicle, Melanie's frustration had been building with every question. What began as a tense conversation was now turning into something far more volatile. Officer James had tried to keep the interaction calm and straightforward, but the moment he asked her to step out of the car, the atmosphere changed instantly. Melanie refused. James repeated the command, this time more firmly, asking her to turn off the vehicle and step outside. But instead of complying, she pushed back again. Her tone was sharper now, her responses quicker, and the situation was clearly slipping away from the calm conversation it had started as. The officer tried once more. He told her to turn the car off. She refused again. Then everything happened in a matter of seconds. Suddenly, Melanie shifted the car into motion. Officer James immediately reacted, realizing she might be attempting to drive away. Over the radio, he quickly called out that she was fleeing. At the same time, he shouted commands for her to stop and get out of the vehicle, but instead of stopping, the car lurched forward. According to investigators, Melanie drove directly toward Officer James. The vehicle struck him, launching him into the air and leaving him seriously injured. In that split second, the situation transformed from a tense stop into a life-threatening emergency. Officer Anderson, who had just finished speaking with the witness nearby, saw the vehicle move toward his fellow officer. Realizing the danger, he drew his weapon. As the car continued moving forward, Anderson fired. Multiple shots rang out across the parking lot. Within seconds, the vehicle came to a stop. Officers immediately began shouting commands, ordering Melanie to show her hands while also rushing to check on Officer James, who had been thrown by the impact. Body camera footage captures the chaotic moments that followed. Officers called out over the radio that shots had been fired and that an officer had been hit by the car. Other responders quickly moved in to secure the area. James was on the ground, clearly injured, telling colleagues he couldn't move his leg or hip. Despite the pain, he remained conscious as other officers gathered around him to assess his injuries. At the same time, officers approached Melanie's vehicle. Inside the driver's seat, she appeared slumped over and unresponsive. Officers carefully opened the door and began pulling her from the car so they could attempt medical aid. Broken glass covered the ground around the vehicle, making the rescue even more difficult. Once they removed her from the seat, officers placed her in handcuffs, a standard procedure during an active police shooting scene, before quickly moving her away from the shattered glass so medics could work. It quickly became clear that she had suffered multiple gunshot wounds. Officers began providing emergency medical care while waiting for paramedics to arrive. Trauma shears were used to cut away clothing so they could locate the wounds and apply chest seals in an attempt to control the bleeding. Despite their efforts, Melanie's condition was critical. First responders continued life-saving measures as she was placed on a backboard and rushed to a nearby hospital by ambulance. But despite those efforts, she was later pronounced dead. Meanwhile, Officer James was also transported for treatment. Investigators later confirmed he suffered serious injuries, including significant damage to his knee after being struck by the vehicle. Following the incident, both officers involved were placed on administrative leave, a standard step after any officer-involved shooting. The North Dakota Bureau of Criminal Investigation conducted an independent review of the case. After examining the evidence, body camera footage, and witness statements, the case was sent to the state attorney's office. State Attorney Julie Lawyer ultimately concluded that Officer Anderson's use of deadly force was justified, determining that no criminal charges would be filed. Officer James later recovered and was released from the hospital. According to reports, both officers eventually returned to duty. What began as a simple welfare check, a call about a possibly impaired driver, had escalated into a deadly confrontation in just minutes. A routine call turned into a chain of decisions and reactions that would change multiple lives forever. Cases like this often raise difficult questions about how quickly police encounters can escalate. But what do you think? Do you believe the officer's actions were justified in that moment? Or could this situation have ended differently? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this case breakdown informative, don't forget to like the video, share it with someone who follows true crime stories, and subscribe for more real cases and investigations just like this.